Alright guys, welcome back to VALORANT News. The World Championship is back underway today. Two massive games about to unfold, but also big roster drama going down last night. Further rumours around what's going on with 100 Thieves. All of their guys now seemingly on the chopping block, in addition to just the ones that tweeted some things out yesterday. Some other roster rumours as well with some other big organisations, but very much enjoy your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. Now we're going to begin here with a couple of things on the replay system. So the replay system releases on patch 11.06. I think it's going to come to console in due course as well. Now, there's lots of drama about this because of the way that it's been defined and lots of frustrations from pro players and others about the limitations of the feature. Now, look, it seems to work. They've created the replay system, and in competitive, in unrated, in swift play, and in Premiere, it will be allowed, it will be usable, and while it may not be perfect in many regards, replay systems usually are not, then it doesn't always show in the replay exactly how things really looked in reality, so it can be a little bit difficult to use it to conclusively spot cheaters and stuff like that. But there was a lot of discussion from the pro players about what they wanted this to be. And look, what is nice is you can get stuff like this. The existence of the replay system allows you to actually create some more interesting content. You can use the different camera angles such as this to show how the start of these rounds were looking, then switch back to certain POVs. And yeah, this is exactly what many want the replay system to be for. Now, like most players, are they going to use this anyway much? No, not really. And I understand why Riot are of the mindset to be like, oh, well, you know, it's been 5 years and probably this should have been a thing at launch, to be honest. I mean, I remember Black Ops 1, it came out in 2010, had a very functional replay system at launch that was fantastic. So, you know, times clearly have changed in the world of game development. But even Durka was in the replies and saying, well, yeah, let me try, but actually, no, it's not out in Europe, right? So, lots of frustrations from some of the pro players here, but it's going to be out soon enough, as Marcus and Riot officially confirms. But I thought it was interesting to read through their articles. They've released an article talking about it, and you know, the funny thing is that a lot of the general questions are kind of shutting down or trying to at least respond to some of the concerns right now with the game, because will replays work for custom games? Not right now. Replays don't currently support custom games because of the wide range of configuration options they include. As with other replay features, we will keep listening to community feedback as we decide where to focus next, because custom games is a big one, certainly for the players. They want to be able to watch back their VOD from their scrims. That's like a key thing that many of the teams, the coaches, they want to have access to. But that's not a thing. Why don't some of my previous games have a replay option, but it only works on the current live patch? And then this, I think, is one of the main ones. In CS, for example, you can go to the demo viewer. You can go back and you can rewatch any of the top games, certainly the majors and competitions such as that. But right now, they are not currently supported on the tournament realm or in custom games. We will continue to evaluate further use cases like this over time. So, look, they have their reasons for this, I imagine, but it just feels like they've kind of just put it out there to be like, okay, hopefully this will keep them happy. But the reality is there's probably a few things that especially people who are a bit more serious about Valorant would want access to that they don't really have. And I feel like the people that will actually get the most use out of the replay feature are the people that will be particularly frustrated and not be able to use it for custom games and, you know, proper VCT matches. So that's how it looks on that side. Now, Faria, who, look, I don't envy his job. He has a difficult time. But yesterday there was no championship, and in the replies he was like, well, you made the schedule, guys. Like, you know, you can't complain about having an off day. Now, he also talked about the state of affairs with the stage, right? Because we know that there's been lots of drama about the way the stage is set up, why it doesn't seem as spectacular as other world championships. And Leo gave some interesting perspective on this, because he says that we wanted to have a bigger venue for the group stages, which generally speaking I think is a good thing, right? He does say that there's a trade-off. We could have made it look prettier with a studio, but we could only fit maybe 250 people there like we did in Seoul last year, when it maybe looked better, but it wasn't as good for the people in person. This year, the stadium fits up to 3,000 people, which you're not going to get every single day at the tournament for the group stages, which is understandable, it is what it is. But as he says, it'll be hard to fill that but we made a different choice this year, prioritizing size, but it's going to be popping for the playoffs, he says. We're prioritizing fans closer to the pros, which is a huge win. Truth is, most esports will host the majority of their tournaments in a small LAN environment with no fans and focus on a big event for a few days only. So it's important to put things into perspective, which is fair from like a cost perspective, I'd say. That being said, a few aspects of the show haven't been up to standards. The walkout's lacking energy. We're making some changes. So, you know, I think that his explanation, and especially given that Riot decide to run their tournaments over like a 3-week period, it means that from a cost perspective, I understand why they're in this position, but I think some of the criticism is still relatively valid. But look, the key point is that while the current stage might not look spectacular and there have been various issues, the finals weekends at the Accra Arena, which I think is just off the River Seine, is going to be, that's a much bigger arena. I'm sure it's going to be spectacular there. So he says, look, get ready for the final weekend. That's going to be the one to really tune in for if you want to see a spectacular VCT event. So that's his update there. But let's talk about some of the roster stuff, because there's quite a lot going on. Rocket Bullets, now like Rocket Bullets' record in terms of getting things right in Rostermania, it's okay, but you know, you've always got to take things with a little bit of a grain of salt. But anyway, he says that Vitality will replace their head coach Faded next year. They've shown interest in at least 10 different coaches apparently. So look, at the end of the day, it wouldn't be a surprise that Vitality are basically just going to clear house for next season. They did not have anywhere near the season they would have wanted, certainly not given how it started. Also, some rumours that Quick QCK is potentially back on the radar. Lost that basically the whole team there, I think, is available to go. So he played for Furia before, played for Loud before. So yeah, they nearly qualified for Ascension, but in the end they did not. So we'll see if he's an option who could be back on the table as well. Certainly a notable one. Now, what about Zeta Division? What are they cooking up in the Pacific region? Because remarkably enough, they are, am I, you know, not mistaken in saying they're the most recent team to actually beat Paper X. They took Paper X down 2-0 online after they'd already been eliminated, right? So yeah, it's an unfortunate end to the season for Zeta. We know the amazing crowd that the Pacific Finals had out there in Tokyo. So I would love to see the Japanese scene really put together a quality team next season. And Zeta, you know, they're an organization and a team that I'll always kind of root for, but it's obviously not been really going to plan over the last couple of years. But if you are a Japanese player, you want to apply, or maybe it's not necessarily that you've got to be Japanese anyway, right? I'd imagine they're still going to try and keep with that core. But as they say, their VALORANT division is now recruiting players, coaches and analysts for the upcoming VCT Pacific 2026. Those currently affiliated with the team should obtain permission from their team before applying. So if you already work for another team, then maybe have a look at that. This is the form if you want to apply. Go to Zeta Division and let me just hit the old translation into English here. And these are the information that you require if you want to be a player, a coach or analyst or whatever. And if we go to this form, you can then officially fill in their application. So that's the situation on Zeta. The other big rumor, though, was what's going on with 100 Thieves. Derek tweets out that he's, you know, officially turning 28. So, of course, he's on Evil Geniuses this year, but he's been with 100 Thieves before. Asna's in the replies. We know that Asna confirmed officially yesterday that he is in the conversation to be out of 100 Thieves. He does want to stay, but as he says, I'm still contracted. I hope to maintain my position, but I'm open to any role. And there's a very good chance that they will totally move in a different direction. They officially confirmed that they are considering a full rebuild of their roster. That's what Xander implied as well. Now, basically everyone tweeted something, right? Cryo tweeted something, Xander tweeted, Kess tweeted, Asuna tweeted, Zix tweeted. You know, everyone was saying, all right, yeah, I'm open to this option. But nobody, well, the only one that didn't was Eeiu, actually. He tweeted this out in August, but since then he's not tweeted anything. And even if you look at his, you know, recent replies, he's still not tweeted anything, right? So I think maybe people expected Eeiu to say something, but he didn't, and therefore people were like, okay, maybe Eiyu's going to stay. But the answer apparently to that is no, because Akamaru says, by the way, Eeiu is included in 100 Thieves putting everyone else inactive. So yeah, and Boostio tweets as well, of course. So Eiyu's in the conversation as well. There's no guarantee that he's going to stay, despite the fact that he's not tweeted anything. He also finds himself in the same position of being available for some other team, but also being likely, more likely than not out the door because they're probably only going to keep a couple of those guys. I think there is a world where EU stays for sure, but I think what 100 Thieves will probably do is build things from the top down, try and find a coach, try and find general managers or whatever who they trust and think could do a good job, and then figure out what things look like in terms of who they decide to keep on that roster. But of course, with their players being available, it means that other organizations could swoop some of those guys up before 100 Thieves make the decision to actually rebuild. That's certainly the case with a guy like Cryo. If I'm 100 Thieves, I don't really want to let Cryo go, but they've allowed him to explore his options. So if I'm another team out there right now, I'm thinking, could I just go and get Cryo before 100 Thieves realise that they probably should be keeping him? It's at least a possibility, but he's still under contract, so there would be some sort of buyout involved there. So we'll see where that one trends, but it is interesting to look at, especially from 100 Thieves, but also all these other teams, 2G and other rosters, a number of very notable players that are going to make it challenging to be a free agent, because there's going to be plenty of options on the line for many of these organisations trying to field rosters. What are they going to do next year? Are they going to run it back with a team like Asuna, Bang, Cryo, Derek and Stella? Pretty unlikely, I would say, but yeah, certainly one of my favourite iterations of that 100 Thieves team over the last couple of years. But again, the results for some time now have simply not delivered. But today, the World Championship is officially back. These are the big games of Day 5. Paper X Giant X, DRX NRG. These are the two deciding games that determine who are the first teams to qualify officially for the players. We'll see that in a bit more detail in a second. Also wanted to mention that Fnatic are set to play MIBR. And it's just going to be funny because you've got the whole Aspas final boss thing, and then Alpha, he also changed his name to the Paris final boss. So that's going to be an exciting game in a couple of days when that officially unfolds. But Fnatic and DRX, of course, Vision Strikers as they used to be known, only two teams to have competed at every single World Championship. Of course, they used to be Vision Strikers. They played under a different banner back then, but it's still basically the same thing, and Mako is still there to this day. But these are the games. Paper X Giant X in Group A, and then MIBR Fnatic happens tomorrow, so it's DRX NRG. Now, these are some great games, right? I mean, look, Paper X, of course, will be the big favourites to take down Giant X and win this series. But this DRX NRG game, I think, is really difficult to call. I think that NRG could easily win this series. I actually rate that team pretty highly. They do seem to be America's best hope right now, possibly. But DRX's result against Liquid was very impressive, and they were talking about the level of play that they were playing at being higher than they necessarily expected. So that's what's happening there. The losers bracket games featuring G2 are going to happen over the next couple of days as well. So very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.